Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. We are a church of many welcomes, and we offer a warm welcome to the guests who are with us. We invite you to check out our website, uutarpon.org, to learn more about who we are and to let us know who you are. My name is Dianna Reif, and I'm privileged to be your service associate today. Reverend Christina Spauda will not be with us to speak today, but we are fortunate to have messages from our National UU organization to share with you as we enter this fall election season. We welcome all thoughtful people to journey through life's mystery with us, whatever your religious background or current belief, whatever your race, ethnicity, sexual or gender identity, lifestyle, or circumstance. Here find a house of welcoming. Here find vision and hope. Here be received as you truly are, unique and beautiful, your journey acknowledged, your love honored. Let us rejoice together. The following is our covenant. We strive to look for and encourage the best in each other as we move toward justice, peace, and love, both for ourselves and the world. And when we fall short, we will seek understanding, reconciliation, and a return to covenant. And now, as is our tradition, let us light the chalice while our wonderful music director, Bonnie Whitehurst, plays for us. May our chalice flame light for us a path of joy and peace.
Today, our message is on our voting season, and so I've chosen many songs today to reflect that. My family wants to go on a trip to Mexico. Should we fly by airplane or sail by boat? In order to decide on the way that we should ride, gonna raise our hands with pride and take a vote. We'll take a vote, we'll take a vote. That's the thing to do, let's take a vote. It's the fairest way for all of us to have a say. We're counting everyone, so let's all vote. We'll now have a story that comes from the UUA.
All right, everyone. So gather together because we are going to talk about somebody amazing. Frances Ellen Watkins Harper was born and raised into a free Black family in 1825. Her family lived in Maryland, where slavery was still legal. Being born free in a land where people who looked like you were enslaved was something that inspired both Frances and her family to become abolitionists.
When she was very young, both of her parents died, and she went to live with her aunt and uncle. Theirs was an abolitionist household. They worked to end slavery, and they also ran a school where Black children, including Frances, received an education.
While still a young teen, she went to work as a housekeeper and seamstress in the household of a Baltimore bookstore owner. Her employers encouraged the inquisitive Frances to use their big library. She devoured books and began to write poetry and essays which appeared in the newspaper. By the time she was 20 years old, her writings were published in her first book, Forest Leaves.
In 1850, Congress passed a law that allowed slave catchers to kidnap, enslave, and sell free Black people in states where slavery was legal. Her aunt and uncle fled from Maryland to Canada. Frances fled to Ohio, which did not allow slavery, and then 2 years later to Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, she became involved in the Underground Railroad, a movement that helped people escaping from slavery. Throughout this all, Frances continued to write and to publish books of poetry, much of it against slavery.
In time, Frances became the first Black woman to earn a living through the use of her words, living modestly and donating much of her income to helping her uncle's work with the Underground Railroad. In 1854, the Maine Anti-Slavery Society hired her to travel all over the Northeast to make anti-slavery speeches. She became one of the most famous speakers and authors of her time.
All kinds of people came to hear her speak, but she made a point of not charging Black people admission. Frances was progressive throughout her life. While she wrote and spoke against slavery, she also took other kinds of actions. She refused to wear or eat goods that were farmed by enslaved workers, including cotton and sugar. She wouldn't wear clothes made of cotton or eat food that contained sugar.
In 1860, the year that the Civil War began, Frances Watkins married Benton Harper, who already had 3 children. The two had a daughter together, and Frances took time off from her writing and speaking to tend to her blended family. Unfortunately, just a few short years later, her husband died, leaving her as a young widow responsible for many unpaid bills. Frances Watkins Harper made the difficult decision to send her children to live with relatives and go back on speaking tours in order to make money and provide for her family.
By then, slavery had ended, and she spoke for women's rights and for legal and civil rights for Black people. She wrote poems and essays about the experiences of new freed slaves struggling to make their way despite the damage done to Black people by slavery. In 1870, she joined the Unitarian Church of Philadelphia. There, she found a community where white and Black people came together, and where many shared her passion for justice.
In many ways, Frances Harper was at home in 2 different worlds. Although she was used to working with white people, she also kept her connection to the Black community in Philadelphia. She maintained her membership in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, where she taught Sunday school. She wrote 3 novels specifically for Black people, highlighting family connections and choices about racial identity. She pushed for education and voting rights for Black people, and she encouraged Black children to learn and grow, just as she had been encouraged as a child.
During her long life, as you have heard, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper offered her voice, her words, her money, her labor, and most importantly, her love to the work of justice making for her people. She used her voice and her privilege as an educated free Black woman to raise awareness of the plight of Black people in the United States after the Civil War. We honor her memory and her place among our Unitarian Universalist ancestors.
When I went downtown the other day to the voting booth cafe, and there were politicians all around drinking tonic and Tanqueray. They shake your hand, they kiss your cheek, take off your shoes, they might kiss your feet. There'll be a lot of kisses every day from the voting booth cafe. So you know the fat men, they'll be standing at the bar. They got the money in their hands. And the politicians, they're all gathered round. They're just trying to make their stands. They might shift left, they might shift right, might shift to the middle when the time is right. There'll be a lot of shifting every day at the voting booth cafe. Politicians, 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 you can't trust them, you can't live with them. Politicians, please go away to the voting booth cafe. We know the senators and the congressmen, they'll line up to make their pitch. But without a lie detector, you can't tell which is which. Protect the border, support the war. I'm for health care, praise the Lord. There'll be a lot of praying every day at the voting booth cafe. So when the time comes to cast your vote at the voting booth cafe, and the box lights up electronically to choose a candidate, we might choose fear, we might choose hope, might choose the smart one, might choose the dope. It's a 4-year crapshoot anyway at the voting booth cafe. Politicians, politicians, you can't trust them, you can't live with them. Politicians, please go away from the voting booth cafe. From the voting booth cafe. We'll have some words of inspiration now from Dianna.
I found some wonderful quotes from years past about voting, and I'm going to read a few of them to you. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Plato. We do not have government by the majority. We have government by the majority who participate. Thomas Jefferson. Nobody will ever deprive the American people of the right to vote except the American people themselves. And the only way they could do that is by not voting. Franklin D. Roosevelt. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. Abraham Lincoln. The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all. John F. Kennedy. Elections belong to the people. It is their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters. Abraham Lincoln. If American women would increase their voting turnout by 10%, I think we would see an end to all of the budget cuts in programs benefiting women and children. Coretta Scott King. Someone struggled for your right to vote. Use it. Susan B. Anthony.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to My special music today is a compilation of many different verses that have been written at workshops, some at SUSI, which is the Southern Unitarian Universalist Summer Institute, where we all sat around and we wrote a song or a verse to Eye on the Prize. And these are verses that go well with the idea of voting. Hold on, keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Politicians can't negate the separation of church and state. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Tell those leaders they are wrong. Keep that wall high and strong. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. When doubt and fear get you down, get your friends together round. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Though you may think you're small and weak, there is power in the truth you seek. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Differences like religion and race make this world a richer place. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. People just want to be free, live their lives peacefully. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. The only chain that a man can stand is the chain of hand in hand. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. I'm gonna board that big greyhound, carrying love from town to town. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Our journey goes step by step. We are moving, but we ain't there yet. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. To keep our country afloat, we have got to get out that boat. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. It's time for the offering for the work and welfare of our church. To donate, please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the donate button. Or mail your checks to 57 Reed Street. The entire address is right there on your screen. And thank you. Vote for me, vote for me. I'm the one you can trust, you'll see. Play your part in democracy. It's election time again. We'll deal with immigration if you vote for us this time. And we'll build a lot more prisons, and we'll be tough on crime. We'll make this country great again, bring industry back here. Just give us your support and you'll have nothing left to fear. Vote for me, vote for me. I'm the one you can trust, you'll see. Play your part in democracy. It's election time again. We'll do our best in healthcare. We'll cut out all the fat. We'll give you better teachers and simple things like that. It'll cost you less in taxes if you make your mark for us. And we'll deal with unemployment with a minimum of fuss. Vote for me, I'm the one you can trust, you'll see. Play your part in democracy. It's election time again. As we told you earlier, our message today comes from the UUA, and specifically from Reverend Susan Frederick-Gray.
I was 13 years old when I became a Unitarian Universalist. I was raised in this faith, but I was 13 when I claimed it as my own. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was waiting for my parents to finish their committee meetings after service. All the other kids had left, and I was bored. I wandered into the visitor's corner, and a little red wallet card caught my eye. It said in bold letters on the front, "What do Unitarian Universalists believe?" My 13-year-old self wondered, what do Unitarian Universalists believe? As I read the 10 statements written by the Reverend David O. Rankin, in my heart, in my soul, as I read those words, I said, yes, this is what I believe. One phrase in particular planted itself in me like the deepest truth, and I never forgot it. We believe in the motive force of love. It was in that moment when I knew that this was my religion. I start with this story to ground the work of UU the Vote in our theology, which is its foundation and its inspiration. This year marks the 250th anniversary of what we celebrate as the beginning of Universalism in the United States. It was on September 30th, 1770, that Universalist John Murray preached his first sermon on this continent. And the truth that I read in that little red wallet card, the truth I've never forgotten, is the message of Universalism. 250 years ago, in the context of religious notions of God rooted in punishment, damnation, and the division of humanity between worthy and unworthy, saved and damned, the idea of universal salvation, that God's love is unconditional, that no one is cast out, and that salvation is not individual but collective, was radical and liberating. Universalism proclaimed that humanity was bound together in a common destiny, and that love is the thread that binds each of us to the other and everyone to creation. Universalists believed that God is love. They also believed in hell. They just believed that it existed here and now on the earth. The great Universalist preacher Hosea Ballou was clear about how politicians and those in power used fear, stoked fear, to protect their greed and corruption and self-interest, and he knew the suffering that resulted from that. Rather than speak of theology in terms of speculative notions of God, Ballou spoke of it in terms of human experience here and now and our relationships to each other. A society that lives out the motive force of love would be one that fosters joy and liberation and thriving for all people. This is the highest calling of our faith as Unitarian Universalists, to live out, defend, and embrace this motive force of love in our lives, in our actions, in our commitments, and in our society. This is why UU the Vote says, vote love. Today, in our context, we are witnessing the emboldening and authorization of ideologies rooted not in love and interdependence, but in domination, authoritarianism, and dehumanization. And just to be clear, this is not new. It has a long and deadly history on this continent, going back more than 400 years. And yes, even our Universalist ancestors came from that same lineage of Christian European conquest and limited the vision of universalism only to white society, a limit that we are still trying to redeem ourselves from. It is dehumanization that creates systems that put children in cages, that deny health care to our transgender siblings, that allow police violence and the murder of Black people to continue unabated and without accountability. Dehumanization that allows triage protocols that devalue the lives of disabled people and that lead to systemic divestment from communities. The resources from housing to education, healthcare to jobs, and the criminalization of poverty. Just as Hosea Ballou named it, the tool of dehumanization, its propaganda is fear. Propaganda that tells us to fear our neighbor, that we are not family and kin, but enemies. This is the exact opposite of our theology of universalism that tells us that we have a common destiny and we are connected to one another in love. This is why UU the Vote says vote, love, defeat, hate. And while the forces of dehumanization and domination have always been a part of US history, so too have been those who have resisted and organized for the values of dignity, equity, humanity, and love. These days are heartbreaking, they're infuriating, and they're frightening. On days when I lose my own strength, I turn to the words of Alice Walker, who reminds us, we remember our ancestors because it is an easy thing to forget, that we are not the first to suffer, rebel, fight, love, and die. The grace with which we embrace life in spite of the pain and the sorrow is always a measure of what has gone before us. We remember our ancestors, theological, familial, and in movement. We remember Francis, Ellen, Watkins, Harper, Hosea Ballou, John Brown, Sitting Bull, Ida B. Wells, Dr. King, Anne Braden, and so many more whose names history does not remember. Those who struggled and risked and fought and loved for the principles of justice, equity, liberty. This is why in UU the Vote, we say vote love, we say defeat hate, because dear ones, we are on a precipice. Every single one of our most deeply held values is on the line right now. The current powers in government are showing in everything they do that the inherent worth and dignity of so many immigrants, Black people, disabled folks, trans and queer people does not matter to them. Human agency, interdependence, the democratic process are being disrupted and defiled daily. It is a radical act of faith to not only continue to believe in all of our cherished principles, but to demand them by speaking out, taking risks, organizing, leveraging our resources, and building networks of solidarity and power to protect one another and these values. We are on a precipice, and our actions right now will affect whether we have a chance to continue to bring our bold values forward, to rebuild, expand, and strengthen our democracy, to confront police violence, to upend racial inequity, to change divestment from communities, and make moves to protect the climate. Now is the time to draw on the grace, the courage, and the strength of all those who went before, to widen our comfort zones, and to do all we can to vote, love, and defeat hate. If you haven't taken any form of action yet, sign up for a shift with UU the Vote. I can tell you that it's fun. And if you've written postcards to voters, but you feel nervous about phone banking, do it with your fellow UUs. And if you've been all in with UU the Vote from the beginning, keep it up and start planning for how you will show up and organize after November 3rd. Because democracy will not be restored in one election. It's been under systemic attack for decades. and justice will not roll down like waters in one election. Voting matters. It's absolutely critical, but it is not the end. It is just one piece of the long haul work of organizing for a future where all are free and where all can thrive. Will you show up in the streets, set up to contribute to a bail or legal assistance fund, open your church building to protesters needing refuge from state repression, tap into your own endowment or discretionary funds to make sure that grassroots organizers have the funds they need for their work? There is so much to do, and our faith calls us to love more radically, to give more generously, to believe more fervently that another world is possible, and be willing to be all in for that future. As you've heard me say many times before, this is no time for a casual faith, no time for a casual commitment to what you hold most dear. And this is no time to go it alone. Friends, we are in this work together. I invite you to be deeper in this work of UU the Vote with us. May we remember that we are held by love always. May we remember that we are held by and with one another. And may we all together be all in today, tomorrow, next month, and next year for justice, for love, for democracy, and for a future that is free and thriving for all people. May it be so.
Our final hymn today is Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. At this time, Dianna will give us our closing words, followed by the chalice extinguishing.
No matter how weak or frustrated we may feel in these times, we each have gifts that can make a difference in the world. In this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support democracy, to celebrate what is worthy, to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected. Each day act so you may be a little more whole. And don't forget to vote. Go in peace.
My whole middle school wants an animal that's cool. Should we choose the octopus or get the goat? To help us all select a class pet that is correct, get some paper, we'll collect, let's take a vote. We'll take a vote, let's take a vote. That's the way to do it, let's take a vote. It's the fairest way for all to have an equal say. We're counting everyone, so let's all vote.